that Josiah Kirkpatrick was my great-grandfather. Now, my question on this, or for one of my questions on this, is he was Grandma's father. So was that the one-legged guy who walked out from Iowa? And how did he lose his leg?
He lost his leg. It fell off a threshing machine. And got his leg caught in the threshing machine.
Ah. And they walked from, was it Iowa?
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. Well, I didn't realize we had any relatives in Oklahoma.
Huh? Well, it just happened that he was there at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But and he followed a wagon train. He didn't, he didn't have a wagon of his own. He was just a young man. And so he just traveled with a wagon train. I'm sure there were times he rode on people's wagons, but he only had one leg. He wasn't married when he came to California.
Mm-hmm.
He was about 19 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how he happened to settle in Santa Rosa.
And was he also a preacher?
Grandpa Scott.
Oh, that was Grandpa Scott. Okay.
Yeah.
So he settled in Santa Rosa.
Settled in Santa Rosa, and he taught school there first. He graduated. He was in the first graduating class from what is now the University of Santa Rosa.
Oh, really?
Yeah, first graduating class. And then he taught school in that little one-room schoolhouse in Olema.
Uh-huh.
And Mom lived there in that big house that's still there. It's an inn now.
Mm-hmm.
Went to school there. I don't know how. Well, she was only 3 years old when her mother died.
How did her mother die?
I don't know.
Was Camel older than she was, or younger?
He was older. He was probably about 6 years older than she. And so Grandpa got married again, and the kids decided they didn't like her, so they tried all kinds of. Mom says they did all kinds of tricks to get rid of her.
What miserable kids!
Yeah. So finally, Grandpa divorced her. Then he found another woman, and he married her, and they got rid of her too. And Mom used to get a kind of gleam in her eye. She says, "We knew how to get rid of them." Mom, well, Mom wasn't a mean woman, but she was evidently when she and Camel got together, like they did it. One of the women that he married, I guess it was the third one that he married, and by this time Mom was up at an age where she started having the eye for boys. And so she made friends with Aunt Lena at school, and then she got friendly with Dad, and then she and Dad started getting serious. It was her boyfriend, and by golly, her stepmother was a Baptist, and she forbade her to see a Methodist boy. No way was she going to go courting with a Methodist boy. His grandpa was a Methodist minister. And so Mom said it was all right for her to run around with Aunt Lena because, of course, she was a girl. So she said she and Aunt Lena would make a date to do something, go someplace and do something. And then they'd meet Dad there, and then Aunt Lena would go her way and do something, and Mom and Dad would do their courting. So I think that Grandpa didn't even have a wife when Mom finally got married.
So he divorced the second one too?
Yeah. Yeah, he didn't even have a wife when Mom got married.
With your grandfather there, did he write for the newspaper while he was teaching?
Yeah, he was editor of the newspaper.
Uh-huh.
Oh no, when he was teaching, those are the letters that are in here that he wrote to the editor. He wrote a lot of letters to the editor, and a lot of these where he signs it. The ones that he signed it, Backwoods, he calls himself. Right,
and there's. And he talks about the way, right? And in one of them, there at least some of these were written by Sykes, which I think is really weird.
Right.
There's a lot of poetry in there.
Yeah, but these were Yours Till Death, Billy, Yearn in a Hurry Till Death. No, that's too.
He's got a thing in there about waifs too.
Oh yeah, and reporter. He was a reporter too. Before he became the editor or
This,
that correspondent, that was
right. That's the Santa Rosa Press Democrat. Is that the name of the paper?
And J.M. Kirkpatrick, that was definitely him.
Uh-huh.
Josiah, I don't know who that, if that was if he did that one or not.
One of those things I was reading, apparently the guys who knew him called him Kirk.
Yeah. Kirkpatrick. I wonder where he must have had a good sense. Orpheus. I bet he had a wonderful sense of humor, because some of the stuff he writes is funny.
Mm-hmm.
Dunn Brown, he signs his name, yours now, Dunn Brown. About music, omniscience. He wrote on, well, that's what Peachy said after she did all this. She said, you know, he was a brilliant man.
Yeah.
That's the way she put it. I says, yeah, you'd never know we came from that, would you?
I don't think we're all that dumb. But what's really interesting to me in all the stuff that has come out about this family is how consistent throughout the generations a talent for writing has been.
Yeah, right. It is. No, he passed down a wonderful legacy. I know. I was afraid of Grandpa Scott. Not really. But Mom used to get rid of us kids, she used to send us to church with him. Because when we lived in Valley Springs, he would go to Burson, which was probably a town of about 50 people. Or there's another little town there too, outside of Valley Springs. And he'd go, they'd hire him to come and preach. And he would get up there and start pounding the pulpit and telling them all they were going to hell and damnation, and I'd get so scared. And Barb and Paul and I would get down and we'd get under the pews. Because we were ashamed to even be seen that we were part of him. And, oh, he pounded hard. And we were all going to hell. And then
how old were you at that time?
probably about 6, 7. Dad built a little cabin for him out away from the house a little ways. So he had his own private little cabin to live in when he lived with us there. And then when we moved to Galt, he lived with us there too. And that was when I was in the upper grades in grammar school. But then he moved and went to live with Uncle Clark and Aunt Lena. I think that was who he lived with. And then I think he was going to stay in an old folks home too. I don't even remember when he died. I don't remember where I was or what I was doing. I guess I was going to high school.
How old were you when? Yeah, did you say that you were when your mother's father died?
Well, I was. Let's see. I was probably 2 or 3.
Oh, really? So you don't really have any memories of him at all?
I don't remember him at all. But I know that I was born before he died because
it says so in the poem that Peach wrote.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because I remember mainly Mom talking about how he loved to play with Neil, who was Mel's son, and her son was 6 months older than I was. And Mom used to talk sometime about how Grandpa loved to
bounce him on his knee.
Neil on his knee a lot of times when Mel would come to see him with the baby, with a little kid. And I was only 6 months younger. Mom and Mel were pregnant at the same time.
That's weird. Imagine if you and I had been pregnant at the same time.